Yesterday's Diablo 4 update provided us with a pretty significant boost to Nightmare Dungeon XP, and after a bunch of testing, I do believe it's the most efficient way to level up currently in the game. Because not only are you getting a ton of XP in Nightmare Dungeons now, you're also going to be leveling up your glyphs, and at the very least getting a guaranteed legendary at the end and chances for uniques. Now if you're still doing regular dungeons to get XP, you might want to reconsider because the Nightmare Dungeon buff is pretty significant. We were able to quickly level up one of our classes to 100 last night, and the Nightmare Dungeons definitely feel worthwhile to do. So we did a bunch of testing because I wanted to see if they actually implemented the thing in the game where the higher Nightmare tier dungeon you get, the more XP that you can receive. Unfortunately, this does not seem to be the case. I tested about 10 different Nightmare Dungeons. The first one we did was at level 57. And we're able to get about 1.5 million XP from running the level 57 Nightmare tier dungeon. We then ran a level 47 Nightmare tier dungeon and got right around that 2 million XP for this. And do keep in mind, we are in a party of 2. If you're going to be playing solo, you'll get slightly less XP, and if you play with a full group, I think you can get upwards of about 3 million XP per Nightmare Dungeon. We then did a 45, a 42, a 43, and netted around 1.5 to 2 million XP per run. It's really going to depend on how many elites you run into, as well as how many events you can get, so you really do not want to skip out on events in these Nightmare tier dungeons now, because they do drastically increase the amount of XP you're going to get. So what seems to be the case is that they haven't actually increased the amount of XP you can get if you go to higher and higher tier Nightmare tier dungeons, but what they did is buff Nightmare Dungeons across the board to give about 1.5 to even upwards of 3 million XP if you are in a full group. This is going to weigh heavily depending on how many elites you get and how many events you can get within the dungeon, but the lowest we got was about 1.3 million XP. And what you want to do is either focus on Nightmare tier dungeons that are exactly your level. So say you're level 70, you're going to want to do a Nightmare tier dungeon with level 70 or higher mobs. Now, the perfect Nightmare tier dungeon would be +3 your level because that's the most bonus XP that you can get, which I think is particularly ridiculous. I don't know why Blizzard decided you can't get more XP if you fight things higher level than 3 levels higher than you. I really hope they fix that in the future. I'm assuming it was something to prevent power leveling, but you can still power level characters really easy in this game. We've been doing it for like 2 weeks now. But there is still absolutely no reason to be doing Nightmare Dungeons that are above 3 levels higher than you, or above like 4 levels or higher above you. There's no reason to do that. The goal is going to be running these dungeons as quick and efficiently as possible. So same level or +3 being the most efficient. And if you can clear these in just a few minutes, and you do want to make sure that you actually complete the Nightmare Dungeon now, because you do get quite a bit of extra XP for completing the dungeons. Plus, you'll get your legendary or unique, as well as being able to level up your glyphs. You're not going to want to do the Nightmare Dungeon reset anymore. I think the reason they implemented that bonus XP at the end is to prevent people from just recycling the dungeons. Although if you do get a particularly good dungeon with really great mob density and things like that, it might actually be worth it to do the Nightmare Dungeon reset, rather than getting the bonus XP at the end, especially if you don't need to level up any more of your glyphs. The most efficient thing that I would say to do is to just continuously run your Nightmare Dungeons, run all the way through them, complete them to the end. If you do find one that is absolutely amazing to farm, with great mob density, great elite density, one that spawns events quite often, then I would say recycle that one and keep using it. But for the most part, just run Nightmare Dungeons as quick as you can, and you're going to be able to level up significantly faster than we have been before, while also still being able to progress the rest of the stuff you need for your character. So I do think it's the most efficient. I'm going to keep the video short and sweet. I really do hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next one.